Hi, Lim. Thank you for joining me today. So, today's just going to be a really casual chat to ask you some questions about what it's been like being a client of mine. Um, can you remember how long we've been working together?
I think it's been about 18 years. 18 years, 18
18
months.
years.
18 years. Yeah, I clearly, we were we were we were doing it when I was in school. No, 18 months. We've been doing it
18
for
months.
18 months we've been working together, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember some of your goals when you started working with me? What actually brought you to seeking out my service?
Yeah, I mean, I had done hypnotherapy before, albeit maybe a different kind of hypnotherapy. Obviously,
Hmm.
you work in kind of solutions focused, solutions centered
Yeah.
hypnotherapy, whereas the kind of other hypnotherapy that I was having before was kind of looking at the more kind of inner child work and kind of uh, more I don't know what the kind of ways was describing it are, but more kind of internal, um whereas there is kind of a nice balance with the work that we're doing, where it is kind of the internal regulation of the nervous system, but
Hmm.
in addition to the kind of outwards external solutions focused work around certain areas. So
Yeah, so a
um,
more maybe practical approach of like actionable steps to take to change behavior.
yeah, so in terms of like kind of you said about going into this, it was very much I wanted to kind of keep track or kind of keep control on my kind of work life in the sense that I am a
Mm.
freelancer. I do kind of put a lot of pride in my work, but then that kind of doesn't allow much time to relax, to do kind of things on the side, to really take it easy.
Yeah.
I think there was also, and that kind of brought with it, I don't find the job itself stressful, but I think the kind of juggling priorities and things made it really stressful.
Yeah.
And there were some kind of other things going on back in, what was that, December 24, where there were some issues around self-esteem as well that
Mm.
we've obviously been trying to build up over the past 18 months, not years.
Nice. Yeah. So stress management, calming the nervous system, and working on self-esteem. Nice. And do you remember the point at which you got to where you went, actually, no, I need to seek support now?
There was a certain breaking point with regards to hypnotherapy more broadly. Obviously, with
Hmm.
my previous hypnotherapist, there was a kind of point where I was like, I definitely need to kind of be a bit more regulated and kind of have everything a bit more under control. And so that was kind of a few years prior to us. But I think the kind of point of coming towards you was also kind of based on the underlying issues around my skin and my approach to that. Because
Yeah.
yes, okay, I've got obsessive compulsive disorder, I've got kind of other things other things going on. That hypnotherapy in general, regardless of who you see, I think can address. But
Yeah.
obviously, the benefit in your case was that you have experience with skin conditions. I've got a skin condition in the form of dermatillomania or skin picking,
Yeah.
and so it was a nice continuation of what I've had before in terms of addressing the OCD and the intrusive thoughts and all of that. But it was nice to have the kind of specialist understanding of the manifestation in skin picking and dermatillomania, and
Yeah.
understanding that real connection. That I don't think other hypnotherapists, while helpful at that time,
Yeah, of course.
didn't necessarily provide.
Yeah, if they haven't experienced it firsthand, there's maybe a certain lack of understanding that they can get to. And yeah, I think we actually connected because I was doing a workshop, right? I was doing like a one-off 2-hour workshop on skin picking, and that's
That's
how you
right.
found me. Yeah,
That's
nice.
right.
Okay. So, what was it about my work specifically, like my approach? As you say, it was slightly different from your previous hypnotherapist. This is more solution focused, maybe a bit more neuroscientific, a bit more practical. What made you think that this approach was the right thing to try?
Uh, so I kind of because there's kind of a two-pronged question there. So I think I came
Hmm?
across your work through a mutual friend. I know that they kind of benefited from it, so I I was kind of brought to it from that, and then as you
Hmm.
say, I joined that workshop. But then in terms of kind of what your specific approach, uh, kind of why your specific approach rather caught my eye, I think there was a bit of the kind of factual side of things because okay, it's good to understand feelings in any therapy session, but I
Yeah.
think in our case there was or there is, because we still are in sessions, the kind of logical or you said neuroscience, yeah, the kind of
Yeah.
psychology that underpins that. Psychology is a special kind of interest of mine. I do find it really interesting to dive into and explore. And so it's good to both acknowledge the feeling in and of itself,
Yeah.
while also exploring the psychology that underpins that to kind of bring both the because you talk in your sessions about kind of the rational logical brain and the emotional brain. It is kind of nice in the way that that is replicated in your approach with both the kind of understanding and processing the emotions that were felt at the time with
Yeah.
whenever I'm talking about this certain example, and also the rational kind of logical side that underpins that emotion.
Hmm.
You kind of talk about the two parts of the brain. It is quite nice in a sense. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if you realize that yourself, but it is kind of that nice approach of like addressing both sides of the brain in each session.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, trance is the part that sort of brings all the parts of the brain together as well.
Yeah,
So you can
no, it's like
access,
one side, the other
yeah,
side, and then bringing the two together at the end. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Nice. Do you remember? I mean, you might not remember because, as you said, it's been quite a while now that we've been working together. Do you remember what our very first sessions were like? Was there anything in particular that surprised you about our sessions?
I think there wasn't anything necessarily surprising. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you're right. It is a very long time ago.
Yeah.
I think there was certainly a kind of element of surprise in the sense of the trance that I was experiencing.
Okay.
In the past, it could have been um, very kind of focused on a specific issue that I was having and kind of
Mm.
trying to address that head on. And I'll be fully honest, there was kind of a little bit of confusion on my end, and I'm probably still addressing it a little bit in sessions around kind of going into trance and the hypnotherapy side of things and thinking of a kind of immediate solution or quick fix or a literal clicking of the fingers. I'm joking.
Yeah, no, but that is
There is no clicking of the fingers in this sort of hypnotherapy.
no, but that
But
is, as you say, a lot of people do associate hypnotherapy with a quick fix and hoping that the trance is super specific. Oh, this is your issue, and it's not going to be an issue anymore after this.
yes, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's just when I think, like I said, psychology. I know quite a fair bit about the brain as a kind of hobby and interest of mine. Just when I think that I kind of had an understanding of kind of the art or the science of hypnotherapy and hypnosis, I was proven wrong in that respect. And
Opened a whole new door of like, oh, but it could also be this.
yeah, and I think I am slowly, I was going to say slowly waking up to continue the metaphor and the appropriate terminology, but I was kind of like, and still am waking up to the idea of um, the kind of use of trance to kind of set that base level and
Mm.
regulate the nervous system, and then that puts us in the position to kind of build on the foundations of that as a as a way to address the skin picking and the other issues that I would highlight.
Yeah,
And I
using it
think
as a
that's
regulation tool rather than the level of suggestibility that's involved in it.
yeah, and I think when I first experienced hypnotherapy for the very first time, it really did feel like I was kind of being put back into the driving seat
Nice.
in respect to my OCD. The OCD would often feel like it was at the forefront of my mind. It felt
Mm.
like it had literally just been kind of kicked to the back of my mind. Still there, still present, still
Yeah,
sometimes coming up, but
yeah,
it was kind of establishing a nice kind of base level to work from. And
good.
you're doing the same thing with your version of hypnotherapy,
Mm.
whereas although in this instance, it is kind of setting that kind of base level regulation of the nervous system each time. And
Yes.
then from there, kind of giving the kind of readiness to be able to tackle whatever it is that I'm dealing with.
Nice. I like that. So, when did you start to notice a real shift, I suppose, in those goals that you had set yourself? Were there little signs that you noticed, little things, little changes?
I think the main one I went into go or I kind of main one I set as a kind of goal when we first started was around self-esteem
Mm.
and around confidence. And I think there were, and it's funny you say about little changes because that is kind of one of your approaches to hypnotherapy, in the sense of the one small step as we refer to it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there will probably be the kind of minute tweaks or minute changes that kind of all incrementally build up to the better self-esteem. So I think
Yeah.
about the kind of earlier targets we set around complimenting strangers and
Mm.
or um, kind of more confidence in the clothes that I'm wearing and kind of trying new things and kind of what was nice about those was that those were kind of bringing up the or kind of contributing to the other areas in which I wanted to kind of improve upon, which was around independence and stuff as well.
Yeah, they're all linked.
The idea of buying my own clothes was both a kind of so-called dopamine dressing as much as it was about kind of independence because I was buying clothes for myself.
Yeah.
I was kind of bringing more of that towards making my own decisions because
Yeah.
I still seek kind of advice and support from friends and family, and it was kind of more bringing it more internal to have confidence in
To
myself.
your sense of self.
Yeah,
Yeah.
confidence in myself, confidence in my convictions,
Mm.
which I think is still being worked on. I'm not gonna sit here
Yeah.
and say it's kind of a very linear like this is kind of reached the end point now because
Yeah.
it is still a continuous process, but it's certainly a lot better than where it was before.
Brilliant. And yeah, I think that's one of the things to also note for people is that process, sometimes they're expecting it to go, right, every week it gets better and then you just finish. And it's so dependent on everything else that's going on in their life. Where, you've mentioned work and the impact that has on you, and friends and family, like everything that we've got going on in our lives also impacts our process through therapy, right? Um,
And if I may,
mm,
there is something else on that as well, in the sense that there is a real understanding with our sessions and with you that there is that kind of up and down approach.
mm,
I talk about past hypnotherapy. I also had past therapy in the form of cognitive behavioral therapy or
yeah,
CBT. And one of the big frustrations of that was, in addition to it kind of not necessarily being very neurodivergent friendly. I'm autistic and OCD and all those sorts of things. I think there was this kind of sense where we would do the kind of behavior test or the kind of the depression scoring system, and it
yeah,
would be very much that you would track it each week, and then it would end at the end of the six weeks. They'd hand you a booklet, say go and use these coping strategies for the rest of your life.
right,
You ended this whole process on a 10. Isn't that fantastic? But
right.
there wasn't really that in understanding that, yeah, okay, maybe I ended it on a 10 and I was previously a 2, or I ended it on a 9 and I was previously a 3, or
Yeah.
however the scoring system works. I can't remember. But there wasn't really, there was there wasn't really an understanding of the fluctuation.
Yeah,
And
that life is going to throw things at you and curveballs
exactly. And
and
so
yeah,
there is that kind of understanding in our sessions each week that there will
yeah,
be a kind of a blip, but if there is a blip, we can reset it to kind of the very kind of base level that I just talked about.
yeah.
And if there are good weeks, we celebrate those as well and really kind of reinforce that positive thinking.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's even more key for people who do have OCD. As you've said, it's not something that you're ever going to be able to completely get rid of within your brain. It's always going to be there in the background, but it's about muting it a little bit more. And as you said, putting yourself in the driving seat and the OCD in the back seat. But that also influences the length of therapy and the ups and downs, having something like that you're constantly having to manage and navigate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess if you had to give some kind of advice to, well, not necessarily advice, but comments to someone who was contemplating hypnotherapy and they've never had it before and they don't know what to expect, what sort of things would you tell them?
I'm glad you said comments, not advice, because
Yeah.
I'm in no position to give expert advice. I can certainly give comments. I think I think there is, and I know you've kind of acknowledged this as well. There is this misconception around the broader aspect of hypnosis in the sense that
Mm.
you have the kind of stage hypnosis. You see the stuff that's kind of associated with the kind of stage hypnosis of the likes of the main one being Darren
Darren
Brown.
Brown, yeah.
Insert magician, hypnotherapist, illusionist here.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's important to notice the distinction. I think there are
Mm.
similarities in the sense that it will show the power of one's own mind and one's own imagination and all those sort of things. I'm not going to dismiss that part of it, but I will
Definitely.
say that hypnotherapy isn't about like turning you into a chicken or all these different things.
Yeah.
It is kind of utilizing a similar approach around kind of the basic level of relaxation, and
Hmm.
that is kind of and maybe even a bit of kind of future self work in terms of imagining a certain thing. But
Yeah.
that is all it does. It kind of takes the relaxation process of stage hypnosis and then ends it there. It doesn't do any sort of nonsense that you would associate with a sort of comedy show. And
Yeah.
so
That's
and
brilliant.
so
I'm really glad that you brought that up, that distinction between, yeah, the comedy stage hypnosis and the clinical hypnosis.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is primarily grounded in the relaxation
Hmm.
because that is what is resetting the nervous system. That
Yeah.
is kind of putting you in a position to be able to kind of calmly collectively. I think collectively means more than one person, but kind of calmly address whatever it is you need to address. And so,
Yeah.
um, I think I think there is also yeah. I think it's also worth mentioning as well that there is. I think people think that it, like we talked about in earlier, there was this kind of misconception. I think I certainly had it at one point where it is a kind of quick fix, and
Mm.
I think it is important. I've yet to experience a hypnotherapy session where it is solely just a trance, and I think there is a
Yeah.
reason for that
Mm.
because it is compounded, or rather, the trance can help kind of amplify and reinforce the ideas that have been explored in the session.
A hundred
That, that
percent.
are
Yeah, you're
that, that is
consolidating.
that is through kind of like traditional talking therapy. So,
Yeah.
so there is kind of a way in which you are still kind of having what we would typically associate with a normal therapy session, where you are talking to a person, talking through your feelings and so forth.
Yeah.
But there is the kind of positive reinforcement because it is positive. It's not. Again, I want to reinforce it is nice. It is pleasant. It's not an uncomfortable experience, but it is kind of you're talking through the kind of workings of the brain and then kind
Yeah.
of reinforcing the positive stuff in the trance and kind of giving you that reset as well at the end.
Yeah, a brilliant distinction there. Yeah, a lot of people might just think a hypnotherapy session is lying on the couch for the whole hour or 50 minutes or whatever it is. But yeah, mine is
You
roughly
don't you
half
don't pay someone just to have a nap for 60 minutes. Like there is some degree of work that
of
you have to
talking.
put in.
Yeah, and that, therapy is always going to be some kind of work, right? It is going to be hard work. But yeah, it's that kind of half talking, half hypnosis, and the trance consolidating what you've really talked about and enhancing the goals that we've set, making them easier for you to achieve. Fantastic. Nice. Any final comments that you wanted to do or say to share your experience?
Not much other than to just to kind of again, as I have done before, kind of commend your services and commend the work that we have done together. I think it's always important to emphasize the great work that you do.
That's really sweet. Thank you. And thank you for doing this little interview with me today.
Thank you.